Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel. It is, I forgot to check what day it is. Let me quickly do that. What day it is in the 100-day project. Day 37. I have a bit of a thing going on here, and I'll explain why. I was trying to tidy up the studio a bit because it's getting a bit much. And I came across some book pages that I had gessoed, at least one side of them. And I thought, well, okay, way back when I saw somebody, I think it was Carrie the Crafter, that was stamping book pages, you know, stamping, and then coloring in the images. And I don't remember what he used. So I have assembled some watercolor pans, as well as within reach there are some markers. But anyway, let me show you what I've done in preparation. Okay, I pulled out some ink pads. These Ranger Archival ink ones. I didn't use the gray. I did use the jet black. My first attempt was also using this StazOn, but this must be a thrifted pad because it basically is dead on arrival. So I'm sure I have some that are in better shape. I also may have a Ranger. So anyway, that is neither here nor there. I guess the point I do want to make is that you do want an ink like this as opposed to the oxides and distress oxides, because as you know, those do move when they get wet. So I thought, well, let's have a little fun with this too. So I had this, and this was a thrifted set. I think there's a fourth piece to it. I just can't remember what it is. I thought, well, wouldn't these be fun to color in? Some funky shoes and some wild purses. I didn't use the perfume one. So I had this half page, and I thought, well, okay, this is the StazOn, the dry StazOn version. So I thought, well, there's enough room here to do these, tear or cut around them, and use them as decoration. So there's that. And then I thought, well, this cowgirl is kind of cute. Why don't I do her? Like, certainly the format is, or the proportions are right for the shape of this book page. So I stamped her as well. I also had this poppy kit that I had gotten at a thrift store. And I love poppies, and I hadn't used it, so I thought, well, let's break it out today. So you can see the info there, in case you're interested. Eclectica EKC 48 from paperartsy.com. So I did the poppy. Now that poppy didn't, oh yes, it did fit on my largest block, but the leaves were a separate thing. So I kind of, attempted on this scrap paper to figure out where to position them. It didn't use didn't use a block to on this one, so you can see it's not the greatest stamping in the world. Plus this, I think as I was putting the ink pad out of the way, I think a corner fit touched the page. That's easy enough to get rid of just by cutting or folding or whatever. But on this, what I want to do is, using a Sharpie, attempt to sort of connect these. And again, hopefully by the time I've added color, that is not going to be an issue at all. And that's also why I chose to stamp the sentiments there close to this action. Maybe I'll do, I don't know, I'll try to do something when I get there. So then I have one left, and I'm sure that, or a couple left to do, and I'm sure that you have all seen people stamp things, and I'm certainly no pro at this. Like I've said before, I missed the whole scrapbooking, card making, bandwagon. So I'm sure there are people out there who can certainly do this better than I can. Now this stamp, well, I guess let me do it and then I'll show you the packaging. Now I don't know if this is a faux pas or not, but this one has never been used before, so maybe just for the heck of it, I should do a test first. Oh, that is nice. Nice, nice. Okay. So because this is a chapter, the first page of a new chapter, you can see there's quite a bit of white space at the top of the page. So I'm intending to put this perfume bottle with the flowers in it towards the bottom of the page on the text. And I'll use a different one in the white space. Now, when I did stamping on air once before, a lot of people suggested that I would probably get better, crisper, and again, it's not always the goal, but crisper images if I had something kind of cushy underneath. So this is just one of those little craft foam thingamajigs that you can get at, places like Michael's, and that's good too. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, and then I love this stamp, and I'm sure I can make it fit there, yes. I just wanted to pick a variety of images and have a little bit of fun, because it seems like coloring, you never get too old to color. So essentially that is basically what this is going to be doing here. Geez, a wet one would have been nice, hey? Did I get it all? Maybe I should just give it another little once over. So with these intricate designs, especially, these last couple, well, even those tiny accessory ones, it gives a person the chance to either use a really fine tip marker, or in my case, I'm going to start with watercolor and a very fine brush. Oh, the reason I had my brayer out is with that girl. Oh yeah, she was the one that was too tall for any of my acrylic blocks. So I just kept her on this plastic backing or acetate backing, and then brayered over her a few times. So that was the reason for that. Now, of course, once these things are done, oh, when I was putting all that pressure on one side, I must have. Anyway, I think I'm not going to worry about that. It almost looks like a shadow effect over there. And this side is almost untouched. So we'll see how far we get with this anyway. Oh, I said I was going to show you. Okay, this says Colorado, 3C Colorado Craft Company, big and bold. I think this might have been one of those things that you get in a magazine. you know, those, you pay 20 bucks or whatever, and where did I lose the plastic bag? And you get some stamps inside. Oh, for heaven's sake. You know, these gluey strips, most of the time I cut them off because I just can't stand this. This struggle. The struggle is real, people. The struggle is real. Okay, and I should move this drawer of blocks out of here as well, just to give myself a little more room for maneuvering. Okay, so what I've done here on the desk is cover it with a piece of a plastic tablecloth, just because it is, I don't want to damage my desk inadvertently, so let's get rid of a lot of this stuff. I've used the Sharpie. I don't need that anymore. I don't need this. So this is basically what I've got. Now, I did say that I had gessoed this paper. That obviously is to cut back the, to put the text back. Let's maybe start with one of the smallest ones. Give those last ones a chance to dry. Oh, I have didn't think of bringing my old toilet paper roll here. I don't know if you saw that the day I was talking about it, but when I was taking art classes, the instructor suggested using a roll of toilet paper with an elastic around it to hold it kind of, compact it a bit. So, you dip your brush and you want to blot off the excess water, or you've washed the color out, you want to blot off the excess water. You then, touch it to your toilet paper roll, which is very absorbent, of course, and it lasts absolutely forever, and it is cheap as things come. Now, I'll just quickly, this is a no-namer paint box, although it is good. It was made in England, and I did do a little swatch card. So there's that, and, and of course this is way, way more paint than a person will need for these few items, but I just wanted to show you that there are some good brands out there that are really affordable. Pelikan, this is another good one. Another one that I could have brought. If I can open this, we'll be in business. And again, made a little swatch thing. And of course, I also have, the fine art quality ones. Not necessary here at all. Another good brand is Yarka, Yarka. I have some of those as well. And then this one is a little fancier, dancier, more money as well. This is Sakura, and this particular one is called Koi Watercolors Pocket Field Sketchbook box, and got book on the mind. It came with this swatch thing, and it is also metallic. And it's got this little sort of palette that normally would sit right there. But if you were out and about and painting plein air, you would, you could put it over there. So again, we'll see what we end up using. Now, of course, with painting, you get the best results with using, proper paper, watercolor paper. But because this is, more fun than it is fine art, I feel like it will just be fine doing what we intend here, or with this, these sorts of quality of supplies. So I think what I want to do is make this really funky. So this color here, and I don't know, maybe it's out of frame. Is it out of frame? Pretty hard to have everything all in view at the same time. I guess you don't need to see a dirty water. So I'm just basically picking up a bit of color. And again, the amounts that I'm going to be using are so minute that I don't need to, mix color on the tray or whatever. So basically, much like in grade 1, we just kind of want to color it in. And again, I'm not using any fancy, went out of the lines right there. Not using any fancy, I'm just going to pretend that the purse handle was the same color. Not going to use any, traditional watercolor techniques, because that's not what this is about. And we also know that sometimes the most painterly looking things are the ones that are, if anything, do not stay within the lines. So this is almost like being in a candy shop, What to pick next? What to pick next? So let's go to this metallic one over here. And I've chosen a brush that is obviously in proportion to the size of the things that I'm doing here. And, to make it a little more painterly looking, certainly one thing that a person could do, or leave those little specks of white. That's sort of a traditional. Oops, it wants to drip. Just want to make sure that you can see something. So because this isn't going to be the most fascinating process for you to watch, I'll keep this quite short. I do want to let you know that it's no pressure. There's no wrong way. How about a purple boot? Wouldn't a purple boot just make the day? And again, you can see, because I'm basically picking up the color straight from the pan, it's pretty intense for watercolor. I could, again, there's a limit to how well paint can move on paper like this. The gesso is making it less absorbent than it would be if I was just, going straight into a book page. So that is another plus here. Let's see if I can get this even darker for this part here. Just basically leaving a fair bit of white space. And maybe, what do we want? The black heel. Doesn't look like this black has ever been touched here even. This is a very Zen process. And if you haven't pulled out some paints and done this lately, maybe it's high time. And contrary to that miserable and misguided teacher in grade 1 who gave you heck for making the grass yellow and the sky green, there is no wrong decisions here. Ooh, that's nice. Bit wet though. You know, when we had our business, I taught art classes to adults and kids. And it's surprising the number of people who have been scarred by some misguided remarks. I'm going to leave that and fill that flap part in later with maybe a lighter version of the same color. I could try to pick up some of this. The number of people who have been scarred by teachers who, made some kind of let's say misguided remarks. That's the kinder spin to put on it. You would hate to think that anybody is deliberately picking a profession and then setting out to squash people's dreams or aspirations or interests. That would be kind of sad. And it's funny, I was, I don't think I've ever told this story on YouTube. When I always thought that I could be a pretty good painter. And as long as I never put brush to paper, I was brilliant. And then my daughter, who was going to start grade 1, and I thought, well, yes, it'll be a bit of a hardship because the classes were in Edmonton, which is, like an hour plus drive. And, this woman had a reputation and a resume, so her classes were not cheap. And, money was certainly tight and all that. But I thought I owed it to myself to treat myself. So I registered, and it was like fundamentals. The first one was kind of fundamentals. And she said, and she was originally from New York, maybe had a bit of attitude. No insult to any New Yorkers who may be watching. Anyway, she said, I'm not going to teach you how to paint pretty pictures. I'm going to teach you how to see. And, that was good. That was, that is the sort of the goal. And you're going to have fun. And I go home with a tension headache. Come back a week later. And I'm thinking, week after week, it's like going home with a tension headache. And I'm thinking, okay, well, when the hell is the fun going to start? And it's funny, I don't remember how old I was at the time, although I could figure it out, I suppose. It didn't matter that I was a grown woman. I was still, I made the analogy, I was like my daughter, who was in grade 1, where you want to please the teacher, you want to, you've got new tools to learn how to use, you've got new vocabulary to learn, and I'm thinking, I'm doing the same damn thing. Nobody, no adult, or at least I didn't, and I don't know if any adult who deliberately wants to look or feel dumb, inadequate, like they don't get it, like they weren't, born with this natural talent or whatever. And I think it doesn't matter, what it is that a person is learning, whether it's, adult dance or a second language or art, anything. You don't want to be the dumb kid. You don't want to feel inadequate. You'd like, most of us would like, a kind word and maybe some praise or acknowledgement from the instructor. And that's pretty cute. That's metallic. That's like copper. And basically I had to sort of, have a heart to heart with myself. Like that's crazy. If I knew it all, I wouldn't be there. I was attempting to learn. The pressure that I was feeling was sort of all self-inflicted. It's nobody else was doing it to me. Oh dear, I went a little crooked there. So I think, that's one of those things that we kind of have to remind ourselves of, even with this whole junk journal, paper crafting, there will always be people who are more advanced, further along the path, more skilled, more wealthy, bigger studios, bigger, more supplies, just bigger and better. More subscribers, more whatever it is you want to measure, more. And there will also be those that have less, smaller, poorer, fewer. And that's just the way it goes. And I think it's a sign of maturity. And it's not easy, trust me, it's not easy when we can let go of that and stop comparing and stop thinking that we should be further along, that we should have all the answers, that we should know what we're doing. I think I'm going to stop there because goodness knows I could make you be here all night watching me color. Again, this is kind of fun and funky, and I like where it's going. So I'm going to set this aside, although, of course, watercolor dries quickly. And maybe look at one of these floral ones, maybe the perfume bottle. It's got peonies, which of course are lovely. I wonder, I really should have brought another water container for clean water. But maybe I'll just transfer some color, some paint over here onto and I can get a bit lighter in places. Because of course the problem with the those things that I just did is it's all very flat. So, you want, typically if you want it to look more dimensional, you need to have lighter and darker. And so I'm just going to try to lay in some color here. Maybe leave more deliberate white space. And then I'll be able to get a little bit more contrast. Now it's hard for me to tell, but then if it's hard for me, it's probably hard for the viewer as well to tell, you know, which petals belong to which flower. But let's just lay in some color and see what happens. It's been a long time since I painted anything. I've been busy learning the new language of junk journals. Yay! So we'll just leave that as it is for the time being. Maybe put in a bit of blue on these little guys here. Whoops. I picked up so little paint that it's invisible. So, you know, obviously, whatever stamps you may choose, whatever stamps you have and may choose to use will determine kind of how, oh, the paper's getting wet there, how, you know, how much painting you actually have to do and how realistic you want to go. I mean, obviously, if it was something more abstract, a person might want to, I think that's a petal. A person might want to, what am I trying to say? Lost my train of thought. You know, that's going to determine kind of how much or how little effort you need to put into this to make it feel. Because this is a see-through bottle here, I think I want to try one of those iridescent blue things. Maybe this one. Not iridescent, metallic. Maybe iridescent too. And just see if I can sort of create the illusion that it's glass. So I'm almost like dry brushing. Bit more at the bottom where, you know, typically you'd expect to see. Work those spread those colors a bit. I think I could also afford to go a little darker where there are more layers of glass. Again, you know, it's not photorealism that we're going for here. We just want the illusion. Not sure what this neck of this thing maybe would have been a different color, but that's okay. Maybe I want to repeat this blue on this. I'm thinking this is some sort of we're pretending that this is a label of some sort. That feels like it's going to be too dark. So again, it's one of those things with watercolor that, you know, you start out light and you can add. And, you know, if this was real watercolor paper, there's a certain amount of lifting of color that a person can do. So I don't know, that I'm not sure I'm happy with what I just did there, but let's do another peony. and then see what the time is. Maybe I'll try this. Excuse me. This metallic-y pink over here on the Sakura. That's Sakura, not Shakira. See what we get here. Oh, that's a sweet pink. Again, I'm just laying in a wee bit of color, and I can, after that's dry, go in with more, create some emphasis. I can't tell what that is. That could very well be a tulip. But you notice how none of the colors are. Maybe I'll use one of the yellows. You know, yellow is not my favorite at all, but it might be cool here, especially with the blue. And again, this is not going into the Museum of Modern Art, so I don't want it to take all day. I think, and again, does it matter what the manufacturer intended? Having trouble seeing. Oh, you see those, all those things that I thought might have been another flower were actually petals from the two peonies. So let's get that done. Maybe let's go a little darker in some places here. So we know that as a rule, it would be darker where the light is not getting in. So the underside, you can even tell by, you know, the way the stamp was made, that where they've got more of the sort of the cross hatching, and or not cross hatching, but those little darker areas, those would naturally be areas of darker. And of course, the whole thing with watercolor is preserving the whites. So, as I said, on watercolor paper, there are some lifting techniques, but they're not foolproof. So the best is to, you know, kind of save your whites right off the bat instead of having to do some, you know, 911 kind of stuff after the fact. And you can see how just adding these few little strokes have already given the flower a bit of dimension. Better add some green, otherwise this thing looks like it's just suspended here. Oh, and I should be mixing up my greens too a bit. Get a few different shades going. You know, none of the trees around here have budded out yet. It's always kind of exciting when we see pussy willows and, you know, kind of the first signs of life. And you know, back to what the art instructor said, it's surprising how much we can learn just by looking. So if we look, we see that Mother Nature doesn't have any flat colors. It's shades and variations and iridescence. And I'm going to go in a bit darker with the yellow. Same principle. Whoa, that's wet. I think I might need a smidge of orange. And again, I'm not doing any real color mixing here. You see, I'm basically using it straight out of the pan. I think I can go more with this bottle here, because that would be dark. And then I need to add a bit more to that second peony. And again, I'm just going to basically darken up these areas where whoever designed the stamp had already put that emphasis. So a person could actually feel pretty accomplished just doing this, and have fun in the process. And of course, how you choose to use it after the fact is totally up to you. With the, you know, depending on the size of the page, these are tall and skinny, with the size of the image, it can become a page, like a hinged page in a journal. It could also, boy, that water's getting dirty. It could also what am I trying to say? It could also be, you know, like this. If I tore that top image off, that could become a pocket. It could be, you know, the sides folded in, add a sentiment, and it could be really kind of cute. Those, where are they? These things, you know, I think could be obviously separated and put on the edge of a pocket or the journaling card or whatever. So I think I'm going to stop there. I hope that this encourages you to use up some book pages, to, you know, like if you're going to rip out a bunch of pages and you're going to do some gessoing, whoops, I forgot my little swatch thing, then do a whole bunch. Do 25. Do as many as you've got time to do, because then that process is done, and then you just, you know, when the mood strikes you, you do some stamping and you do some painting, and you feel like $1,000,000. Anyway, thanks, guys. I hope you give this a try, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.